Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at Gyps vultures.
Gyps vultures.
Yeah, and honestly, they don't always get the best PR, you know?
Oh, right.
But these birds are more than just like scavengers. They're actually vital for a healthy planet.
Absolutely.
So in this deep dive, we're going to uncover just how crucial they are to the ecosystem
Yeah.
and why we really need to be concerned about the threats they're facing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even bust some myths along the way.
Okay.
So to start, we're talking specifically about Gyps vultures, which are a group found across Asia, Europe, and Africa.
Right.
We're talking like your classic vultures.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
white-backed vulture, the Indian vulture, Himalayan vulture.
Exactly. And one of the things that makes these birds so fascinating is how they're adapted for a job that most other animals just wouldn't touch.
Of course, of course.
Like, have you ever thought about why vultures have those bald heads and necks?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Hygiene. Think about it. When you're constantly around blood and rotting flesh.
Yeah, you don't want that stuff sticking to you.
Exactly. So those bald heads and necks, that's nature's way of saying, hey, no mess here.
It's like a natural non-stick coating.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
But it's not just the baldness. They've also got those incredible beaks.
Yeah.
You know? Like super strong.
Oh, yeah. Those beaks are, they're powerful tools.
Yeah.
Perfectly designed to rip through those tough hides, you know, to get to the good stuff inside.
The carrion.
Exactly, the carrion. And we can't forget about their stomachs, can we?
Oh, right. Their digestive system.
Yeah. They can handle bacteria and toxins that would, you know, knock us out for days.
Absolutely. So how does all of this tie into their role in the ecosystem?
Well, you often hear Gyps vultures called nature's cleanup crew, right?
Right.
And that's for good reason. By consuming these carcasses, they're preventing the spread of, well, some pretty nasty stuff.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like anthrax,
Oh, wow.
rabies,
Yeah, rabies.
botulism, things that can really seriously impact both humans and livestock.
I read somewhere that the decline of vultures in India actually led to like a huge surge in rabies cases.
Oh, absolutely. It was a really stark example of what can happen when vulture populations plummet.
Yeah.
So in India, the decline was largely due to this veterinary drug, diclofenac.
Diclofenac.
Yeah. And without the vultures to, you know, quickly clean up carcasses, the feral dog population just exploded.
Oh, wow.
And they became the main carriers of rabies.
Because they were feeding on the carcasses too.
Exactly. It's a perfect illustration of how interconnected everything is. You know,
Right.
vultures, they're not just a species off on their own. They're playing a vital role in public health.
It's amazing how that all connects. So diclofenac, that's the drug you mentioned. Why is it so deadly to vultures?
So diclofenac is a common pain reliever for livestock, but for vultures, it's incredibly toxic.
Really?
Yeah, it causes really severe kidney damage. And the scary thing is, even tiny amounts can be lethal.
Oh, wow.
So when a vulture feeds on a carcass that's, you know, been treated with diclofenac,
Yeah.
they're basically poisoning themselves.
That's awful. It's like unintended poisoning, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
It's tragic because these birds have evolved to handle carcasses safely, you know?
Right.
But this man-made drug, it's just completely thrown a wrench in the works.
So are there any other threats that Gyps vultures are facing?
Well, unfortunately, diclofenac isn't the only problem. Habitat loss is a major issue, too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, human development encroaches on their natural foraging grounds.
Yeah.
And then there's food scarcity, especially in areas where livestock populations are declining.
So fewer carcasses for them to scavenge.
Exactly. And then on top of all that, there's the issue of poaching.
Poaching.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but poachers in Africa, they intentionally poison vultures
Why would they do that?
to avoid detection.
Really?
Because, you know, if there's a carcass and vultures start circling, it draws attention.
Oh, I see.
So they kill the vultures to try to cover their tracks.
That's just awful.
Yeah.
But is anything being done to protect these birds?
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of people fighting for Gyps vultures.
That's good to hear.
The ban of diclofenac in South Asia was a huge victory.
Yeah.
And there are ongoing efforts to, you know, promote safer alternatives.
Like what?
Like a drug called meloxicam.
Meloxicam.
Right. So this shift to safer drugs is it's giving vultures a fighting chance.
That's great. I also read about vulture breeding centers.
Oh yeah, the breeding centers are playing a vital role too.
Yeah.
They're working to bolster populations.
Right.
For example, there's the Jatayu Conservation Breeding Center in India.
Shatayu.
Yeah, they've had incredible success breeding and releasing hundreds of critically endangered vultures back into the wild.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like education is a big part of this too, right? Getting people to understand these birds.
Absolutely. Public awareness is key.
Yeah.
We need people to see beyond the ick factor.
Ugh. The stereotype.
Exactly. To understand that protecting vultures, it's not just about saving a species,
Yeah.
it's about safeguarding our own health and the health of the planet.
Yeah.
Because a healthy planet needs healthy vultures.
That's a good way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that vultures, they're really unsung heroes.
Yeah.
They might not be the most glamorous creatures, but they play this vital role in keeping our planet healthy.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to understand the threats they face and support the efforts to protect them.
Well said. It's clear that we can't take vultures for granted. They're more important than a lot of people realize. So thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of gyps vultures.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.